Welcome, everyone, to 60 Seconds of Stoicism. We're glad you could join us this week. We are the only 60-second podcast that lasts for a half hour. Thanks for tuning in. We are so excited to start your week off. We usually start on Saturdays, and we do this. It's postponed one day. We're doing it on Sunday, but we're glad to be here. My name is Ryan Lee Mays. I am your host and author of the Octad. With me is my wife, Melinda.
Hey, guys. Good to see you.
And we are going to talk about comparison culture tonight. Now, this is something that's kind of permeated its way through a lot of other episodes, little bits here and there, but we're going to talk about comparison culture. So we have been working doggedly hard, my wife more so than everybody else, trying to get my daughter's quinceañera ready for her to have this upcoming Saturday. She is half Irish and Scottish, I guess you'd say half Celtic, if you will, and then the other half is Mexican. So she wanted to have a traditional quinceañera. And by traditional, we really held to that word traditional. It's going to be based on the kind that they would have had traditionally in Mexico, which is vastly different than quinceañeras from a lot of her friends that they're having now, which are huge. They're big. They've got name brand DJs. I don't know how to say it, live bands, all of this, multiple costume changes, you name it. They have all this stuff. But we told our daughter, if you're going to have this, we want it to represent that this is going to be something that's part of your culture, and we want to kind of take it back to the roots of what it is. So that brought up the idea of comparison culture and where we live right now. We are constantly comparing ourselves to the next thing the neighbors have, the next thing we have at our business, or the things we want for our leisure time, or comparing to other people to see, am I keeping up with the Joneses? Going back to that old term, always looking to see if we're achieving enough in life. So let's get straight into the philosophy tonight. This is from Seneca. Get rid of everything that stands in your way and make time for excellence of mind. No one gets there while occupied with business. And I don't think business just means your work or your own business yourself, but it means anything in the realm of the business of day-to-day life. When we are so hyper-focused on those things that we feel like are not where we want them to get a lot better, we're striving for those perfections, that we start to focus our mind away from our own health and wellness, first of all, but then also on our family and our friends and our children and the things that matter most in life. That's something that we have to worry about. So I thought I would throw out our first question tonight. Why do we compare ourselves to others? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I could think of a couple reasons. For the fact of just wanting to not be the guy left out or the girl left out.
Sure.
You want to make sure that, you're living up to the same thing that society is. What do they have? Why can't I have that? And then you kind of feel pressured by your kids sometimes too, even if you're okay with things, but sometimes the pressure comes from your kids, and you don't want your kids to be left out because then they're being bullied for it. And then you're like, man, I don't want my kid to be that kid, and
yeah,
I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I feel like we have this thing, I'm going to call it horizon syndrome. I don't know if I just made that up or if I read it somewhere and it's stuck in my head. But horizon syndrome is the thought that what we want is just over the horizon. It's the false sense that we're almost there. And once we make it, then we'll take a breath. Then we'll dial it back. Then we'll start paying attention to the things that matter the most. But what I'm trying to get, that tangible thing, is just right there. And I can't give up now, because if I do, I'll be a loser. So I'm almost there, so close. I'm going to get it. And so we compare ourselves to that. I've got a great house, but if I almost could get what my neighbor has, then I would be right there. And then when I do that, when we move and we get into that 7-bedroom house instead of the 4-bedroom house, then I'll have made it and I can spend time with my family. The problem is the horizon keeps moving. It never stays in place. So that thing is never achieved. Seneca said, joy is your aim, but you're off course. You think that you will get there amid riches and accolades. In other words, you seek joy in the midst of anxiety. You go after those things on the grounds that they will bestow happiness and pleasure, but in reality, they are the causes for your pain. And I have to say, I fall in that category. A lot of times, when I read Seneca's words, not only were they meant for us, they were meant for him, because he dealt with a lot of this, being a very rich man and being in big power. But I do that. I'm in a doctoral program. I ask myself all the time, why did I put myself in this right now? Yes, it's to learn, it's to better myself, it's to show an interest in an area that I really want to do. But was it just to get the accolade? Was it to try to make more money? Or did I really want to focus on helping people? And I do feel that that was the goal for it. That was the motivation. But I still question myself. I'm like, I'm in the midst of anxiety right now with everything going on. I had to come home today. I had to rush home. I had to get on an assignment. I had to write a 2,500 word page on whatever it was, which I mean is not a lot in comparison to other pages I had to write. But it was just time consuming and it brought a lot of anxiety. So why do we put ourselves in that position? Am I comparing myself to other people in my field and saying, well, they have doctorate's degrees, they have PhDs, I need that too, in order to be seen as legit? Or am I really trying to use it to focus to help people?
I think between the both of us, we tend to have the greater heart of it. What can this do for ourselves, for our family, and we're both involved in education and ministry, so we always see that aspect of it as well, like how can this enhance the kids that we're working for and doing extra community service hours. How can we help the church whenever there's a need, because the church is growing and they have a lot of questions on how can we do this to expand the children's ministry, or so I think we both go into it wholeheartedly with great intentions of how can we give back. But to be honest, there is those little selfish
Sure.
wants as well. How can we increase? How can we retire?
Yes.
Things like that.
I think we justify it a lot too, because if I just had a lot more, then I could help a lot of people. Instead of really focusing on what do I have right now that can help a lot of people.
No, you're
what
right,
is it just time that I have, or is it just being able to call people in a time of need and say, hey, can I help you out with anything, or I'm just thinking of you, or what it is. But we keep again trying to justify it. But like Seneca says, in all of these things, this pursuit of happiness or pleasure or more, it's just in reality the cause of pain that we're dealing with right now. We also, I feel like we have to delineate between comparison and competition. Mm-hmm. That's two things. Because I think competition can be a good thing. When you're trying to better something, let's say, for instance, we just watched a really just impressive video on YouTube about a young girl who contracted meningitis not long after she was born. She lost both of her arms, or at least from the elbow up. And so these companies were giving her prosthetics, and one was okay and one was a little bit better, and then finally a company has come out now to where she has two fully functioning robotic arms that work with her mind.
That's amazing.
Her mind can control them. It's fantastic. Without that competition, that betterment may not have happened. We just stick there. So I don't necessarily think competition is a bad thing if it's focused on a positive thing. Comparison is different, because I feel like comparison is far more selfish. That's where we want to feel something that we think someone else is feeling by having the achievements that we want. So that was my next question. Is comparison a motivator for some people? Competition is, but is comparison a positive motivator or a negative one?
I think it'd be a good one. And that's good for kids as well. We do that at the school. We tell the kids, you do this, this is where you can go and this is what you can achieve. And, we're always trying to, give a little competition here and there. And I feel like that's what motivates them.
So you're saying competition is good, yes.
Yeah.
What about comparison, though?
Comparison.
Where kids are saying they've got that, I want that, or it's not as good as my dad's, or we go to the old argument in class, my dad could beat up your dad. Remember that when we were kids?
Gosh,
that was the whole comparison thing. So that, I feel, is where the negativity comes.
Oh, yeah. obviously.
Yeah.
But
Trying to get what the other child has. But I agree, competition can be a very good thing. And it was something that was supported by the Stoics. Epictetus talks about all the times about making yourself into an Olympian, like treating life like that, preparing yourselves, realizing what goes into being an Olympian before you make that choice, because it's a life dedicated to that. So competition, I think, was a good thing for Stoics, but the comparison was not.
no.
And that was where they decided, yeah, this is not a good thing for us. So another bit from Epictetus here. For it's not easy, believe me, to keep your will in compliance with nature and also to secure external things for yourself. If you care about the one, you're bound to neglect the other. And I like the way he phrased that, because there's a good and bad in here. If you focus on nature, or in his terms, the good things, the virtues, then you'll neglect all that other stuff like the riches and the want to compare yourself. Or if you're focused on that, then you're going to neglect all the virtues of life. So I kind of looked up a little bit before this on what were kind of the top 5 things that are considered the status symbols in America. Like if you had those 5 things, then you've made it for that. So number 1, obviously, it's, having a 7-digit bank account. That was a big thing, having enough money. 2 was having a car worth over $75,000. Wow. That's in there. 3 was having a house that would be considered a mansion. So I'm not sure what that means by standards, if that's 7 rooms or more, and that. Being able to retire by the age of 40 was that. Like, I don't know anybody that has that.
That's a rarity.
Good on you if you've got that by the age of 40. And number 5 is having a trophy spouse. So a trophy husband or a trophy wife or a trophy partner, however, through all of that, that's the big 5 things that means you've made it in American society. Mm-hmm. Let's juxtapose that to the 5 big things in Stoicism: virtue, wisdom, having courage, temperance or self-control, and then faithfulness to yourself. That's that you are not going to let yourself go into those other things that are going to pull you back. So those 5 virtues, compared to what are considered the 5 virtues of American society for achieving, are vastly different from each other. And you can have the 5, virtues of philosophy, of faith, and be fine. But you can't have those other 5 things without the virtue, because what happens is they will crumble, they will break, they will lose their money. You'll be able to keep them for long periods of time. The new thing will come along that you can change. Your spouse will leave, the car will break down, the house will crumble or catch fire. The bank account is wiped out after a long time. But you can always maintain the virtues, on the other hand. The wisdom, the temperance, the courage, and the faith in self is not a "I'm great, look at me." It's saying that you're able to control how you feel and respond to things in life. It's a dichotomy of control. A better way to phrase that. So those are important. All right, next question here. Can comparisons ever be met? So for me, I'm thinking, I love classic cars. Don't have one right now, but I used to, as a younger man, I had classic Cadillacs. I loved them. They were surprisingly inexpensive to get them if they were broke down, and then you could kind of fix them up. So I had 2 of them that I loved. I had a 1980 Coupe de Ville, and I had a 1974
nice.
Sedan de Ville. So those are my 2 cars, and I loved them so much, and took care of them until I just ran them to death. But if I looked in my neighbor's driveway, and he also had a 1974 Sedan de Ville, except his is cherry red. It's beautifully designed. It's got a white top on it. It's got white wall tires. It's got all this stuff. And I look at the one I had, which was kind of a beat up green, and I took good care of it, but it had its dents in it, things that need to be fixed. We both have the same car, but his is better. So let's say I pour in my life savings into my car to where it is for him, but he makes it into a magazine and mine doesn't. So now I got to make it into the magazine so that I can keep up with him. And that comparison line keeps moving and keeps moving and keeps moving. We can do that with business when we're looking at business. Am I achieving what other people are achieving? Am I on the trajectory that other people are on to do this? And maybe you're not. Maybe you're not supposed to be yet, and maybe that's still yet to come. So comparisons can never be met, in my opinion.
Well, and it could also be, I mean, we're entering this world of YouTube and podcasts, and people do the same thing, comparing, viewers and subscribers, and, their show got here faster than ours and things like that.
True.
It's really hard to not fall into those things as well, because, we're trying so hard to meet a status, and, of all the little tricks and things that can get you there faster. So,
which, by the way, subscribe to My Stoic 60 on YouTube. My Stoic 60 on YouTube. Thank you, guys. No, and you can catch the podcast there, by the way. But
yes.
No, and it's because we are trying to drive ourselves as a way to help people. That is the entire means of this. We're not going to get rich on this. This is going to be honest. It's for something higher than that. It's to help us find our eudaimonia, which is fulfilling our virtue and helping others. Let's go back to Epictetus. But other people will be better off than me and will be promoted over me. But that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If people have been intent on something, they're bound to have the advantage in the thing that they've worked at, don't they? They've been intent on obtaining political power, while you've been intent on judgments. They've been intent on becoming rich, and you on how to use your impressions. So, meanwhile, where you've been complaining, those people have been working hard for what they have. This kind of takes the sting out of the comparison thing here, because we want what they got, but they're working a lot harder for it. Maybe your neighbor doesn't have a family to take care of. Maybe he's single, and that car is the love of his life, and that's what he's putting his time in. I think it is okay that people have more and have achieved more than we do.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. Back in the 50s and 60s, something I'm not alive for, I've only heard stories and seen old commercials for and old home footage, but when people got something new, the neighborhood was happy for them. All the neighbors would come over and see it, like if you drove a new car in or had a new refrigerator delivered, they would all come around and they would laugh and enjoy it and say, good on you for getting that done. Now it's seen as a jealous thing when they come through. People are jealous that you had that. They're glaring at you with their eyes. Why do they get that and I don't?
They start judging. They start saying, how did he afford that?
Sure.
I know what he does for a living. I know what she does for a living. Or I know she wasn't able to contribute to this. So how were they able to do? They start throwing out, how could they have done this? And
no, that's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And we start going through that, and it's a natural human response in the society we currently live in, where we're not happy for others. We want to judge others for what they have and compare it to what we have. I remember when we were a kid, we were the first one on my block to get an Atari 2600.
Oh, wow.
And my dad hooked it up, and we were playing Pac-Man and the most terrible version of golf you've ever seen. And all the neighbors were coming over, and they were laughing and having fun and coming inside and sitting down and playing it. The Mays family got an Atari. And it was exciting, and it was a community thing, and there wasn't those hard feelings towards each other. It was something kind of everybody shared in together. Yeah. But now it's just, they got it, I want it, and they shouldn't have it. Epictetus says again, whenever you see someone in a position of political power, set against the fact that you have no need for political power. Whenever you see someone making a fortune, see what you have instead. So instead of saying, why do they have this amazing house and I don't? Do you need that amazing house? Is that going to make your life any better, truly? Why don't you just upgrade your own house? Put your own time and effort into it. Epictetus would say, good, that means you're focused on that. That should be better. Spend your time there. But instead, we want more what other people have. And instead of trying to compare our bank accounts to other people, we say, I have enough right now to take care of my needs. And I have to be happy with that. So let's go on to our next one here. How do we keep ourselves from being single-minded in the pursuit of riches, of wealth, of fame, of politics, of anything else? How do we keep ourselves from doing that? Do you have any thoughts? I think for me, I think journaling is the one thing, because I think talking about what you're trying to pursue and you can't pursue, you can write that down and have that conversation with yourself. Is it really worth it? Am I trying to do this because it's going to make me a better person, or I'm just trying to keep up with somebody else, or what the American standard is for success? So journaling is a big thing. I think meditating on the positives of your day as well.
Yeah.
I didn't achieve another zero in my bank account today, but I did mend an old friendship. I did spend time with my kids. I did get to laugh with my spouse. I did get to go out and do something fun, for it. That's a win. Yeah. That's a win for the day. And those people that you're comparing yourself to are now looking at you and saying, man, I wish I had that relationship with my kids. Man, I wish I could laugh with my spouse like that. Man, I wish I could just go and have some fun just doing mundane things, but instead I got to go work that second job to be able to afford this mortgage. So
that's true. They end up having to work harder just to keep up with the status of those things. I was with someone in the past, who, man, he just compared himself to his ex, and why is it that so much is going good for that person and not for me, and why is it that they're doing this and this is their life and I've got my life on track, but I'm not seeing anything positive on my end. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. You have a family here.
Right.
We both have good jobs, and food is on the table. We have a roof over our head. Like, we're able to do things with the kids, and the kids don't even look at that. Like, why are you looking at that? So, yeah, just really comparing, and just saying, that's not fair. That's not fair. Life is not fair. Right. I'm always dealt the bad cards, things like that, stuff like that.
Meditate on what you have.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Exactly.
I love what Seneca said about balancing your books at the end of the day. Like, what did I do good? What did I do bad? For when we're doing meditation, and going along with what we just said about the neighbors envying you for what you have, Epictetus says, if you have nothing to put in its place, you feel sorry for yourself. But if you have no need of wealth, you should realize that what you have is more than what they have, and far more valuable. So that peace that you have, your equanimity, your virtue, your ataraxia, you inside, the ability to be able to deflect those negativities that come that way, your apatheia, your control of your emotions, your eudaimonia, your joyous happiness from being a good person. When you have those things, they're desired by others.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little bit jealous your way. But we don't stop to think of that. We just want the shiny object. And so we got to focus on the things that matter most. Let's go to our next question here. How do you use what you achieve to help others? So now you've gotten to a point of clarity where you realize, I actually have a little bit of stuff here. Mm-hmm. I've worked hard. I've gotten, some blessings through money or whatever. What are just a couple ways we could use what we have to help others?
Growing up, my mom had we didn't have much, but she really did teach us to value the things that we had, and I always saw my mom give. And sometimes I didn't understand how she was able to give because we didn't really have much. But I think that through her giving, God continued to bless, and we always had just what we needed. And people were always just really blessed by her, whether it was of giving of her time or just giving them food or things like that. So that was really a lesson that she taught us, was appreciate what you have, and any extra that she had, she was willing to just give it to somebody. Sometimes she'd even give them what we had, and still somehow we just came up and we were never without. So I really feel like for me and my faith, I know to this day that every time God blessed me and I blessed someone back, it came back. And sometimes it came back double. And I've seen that so many times in the 43 years that I've been here, and have never been without. And every time we lived in a shack house, and God blessed us. The state gave us a house for free. They just said all we had to do was pay the taxes every year. And, my mom made sure that family gatherings were there. If there was telling the church, hey, we're going to have a Bible study here sometimes if you guys want, she always opened the house to anybody who needed a place to stay, whether it was family or friends if they were in trouble. I have room. Before we couldn't say that, but then, we got that house and she was, very open to just helping other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, just getting what you have and then saying, how can I use this? How can I give back? How can I use this one thing that we were blessed with? A car, too.
Yeah.
We had a car, and my mom was always offering rides to people.
Yeah.
She got a brand new car. We were excited the first time we drove a brand new car off the lot. And she was always driving people wherever they needed to go. So, yeah, it's just...
No, that's very good. Even when you have little, you can find a way to use it for other people. I have an example of a friend, and I'm pretty sure he's not listening to this, but a friend that I grew up with who became very wealthy through a lot of hard work and through a family business they had. And again, I want to say there is nothing wrong with wealth. Seneca would say wealth is fine as long as it was achieved by virtuous means. You didn't step on somebody, you didn't hurt somebody, you didn't shed any blood. Cicero tells us that's one thing that we need to avoid is hurting others for our own gain. So as long as you've done it in the right way, that's great you have wealth. So he bought himself a mansion. I'm probably being a little bit too liberal with that word, but it is a very large house on a very large property. And he has used that to host every kind of event for his church, for his friends, for his business. He lets people stay over that are from out of town. Like, he uses it for the good of other people around him. And that is having your heart in the right place. That is a virtuous life. Saying that I am going to take care of other people with what I've been blessed with for that. So, very good.
I'm the same with you. I mean, the degrees that you've gotten. So, I can't think of a time that someone didn't asked you for help and you turned them away. You've always said, I can help. I have a background in this, I have a background in that, and, we can't always give money, but you've always been there to help. Like, all the jobs I've worked at and teachers needed help, or even, the directors that I worked with, they were saying, can I ask your husband this, or can I ask your husband that? Can I call him? Can I get some ideas? And you're always open to giving that knowledge that you've gained back, So.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'll tell you the reason why is because I believe that we all have a moral responsibility that if we've gained wisdom in any way, we have to give that to other people. Not to throw it down their throats, but if they ask you for help, yeah, absolutely. I'm here to help with that. Going into our next one here, we're about to wrap up. Marcus Aurelius said, and stated it better than anything that I've babbled about on this entire podcast in just this one statement: bear in mind that the measure of a man is the worth of the things he cares about. What do you care about in your life? What's important to you? Because that determines who you are as a person. I care about my family.
Yep.
I care about my faith. I care about this philosophy that we have here. I care about trying my best to help other people. If I care about those things, then I'm living a good life. If I have to re-examine myself in a month and I'm saying, well, I'm caring about the amount of subscribers and viewers I have over everything else. I'm caring about starting this business at all cost. I'm caring about, then I need to refocus what my goals are, what my intentions are. I guess not my goals, but my systems. Is that focusing on just bettering myself, or am I still focused on my family, my faith, my virtues, those things? So it's important. So Marcus Aurelius says it great. He also says the storms of life will try to blow us off course, but the wise man will remain steadfast and immovable in his direction of purpose. So also, what is your purpose in life? That's another way to look at it too. Lastly, let's wrap this up. How do we teach our kids to not live in a comparison culture, where we're always looking at what the other person has and judging ourselves by it?
It starts with us. It's setting those examples, those boundaries. They see it first from us, then they're going to learn. What's more important? What do we value more? Serving others, serving community, you know.
Yeah.
So we're the first ones it comes from.
I love that, giving to community. You know, it's something at my job we really try to stress with kids is being global citizens, taking care of each other. It's something that all philosophers, promoted, especially in Stoicism. It's something that's promoted in our faith. You know, taking care and looking for opportunities to help each other is a big one. We see comparison culture with little kids. You know, when, you see a 2-year-old with other 2-year-olds, we're like, hey, did you get new shoes? And they say, yeah. And then the 5 of them run up and say, look at my shoes. Do you like my shoes? It's comparison culture. Like, it's just a natural thing we have to go through. But we have to teach them that is not the important thing. And say, oh, yeah, your shoes are great, but I really like how you helped your friend over there clean up when he was struggling. And it kind of puts the focus back on the things that are the most important. I also think we have to model it for our kids and how we give back, not of money, but of our time, our effort, helping each other. I leave you with the words of Seneca tonight. We're about to wrap up. If you ever want to find out whether anything has been achieved, observe whether your intentions are the same today as they were yesterday. A change of intention shows that the mind is at sea, drifting here and there, and is carried by the wind. A thing that is well grounded does not move. That is how it is for completely wise people, and also to some extent for the one who is making progress towards wisdom. What is the difference then? The progressor moves but does not shift position. He merely bobs in place. The wise person does not move at all. I am focused on being a good person. I am focused on having control of myself and how I act towards others. And if that's where my focus is at, then I am a wise person, fixed at sea, or not in sea, but fixed in a position, and I'm not at sea, bobbing back and forth from one thing to the next, trying to get this, trying to get that, trying to gain public opinion, trying to gain accolades. I'm just being a good person. That's it. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. 32 minutes. We were pretty close to our 30-minute mark. Thank you guys for listening. As always, we really do appreciate it. Our podcast is starting to pick up thanks to YouTube. So you can go on YouTube and listen to us there. Again, it's My Stoic 60. But you can also find us on other platforms. We're on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. So go on there and join us and just kind of share in this community that we're building together. We appreciate it. Thank you again. Have a great week ahead. And as always, Semper Studiosus. Thanks, guys.